everyone, welcome back to my channel, Sharon Cullen Art. I'm sorry that my Tiny Tuesday tutorial is coming to you so late on Tuesday this time. I really wanted to do something yesterday, which was Monday. I try to do them ahead of time so that they're all set to upload, but for some reason it has just been difficult finding the time, and now I am here, but it is 4 p.m. on Tuesday, so hopefully I'll have this edited and up for you before midnight, before Tuesday's over, which is Eastern Standard Time for me. If you're in Europe, it'll be Wednesday by the time you see this probably, and I apologize for that. I will try to do better. Let's get going. I'm going to use a little bit bigger sheet of paper here. This has got a fold on it I'll need to cut off, but let me see how big I'm working with. It's still pretty small, but it's not too super tiny. This is actually 4.5 by 6 or so, 4 by 6, which isn't very big. But what we're going to do is a round painting today. So it'll still be small, so I'm just going to use my water jar, and you can go around this in pencil, or you can go around it in pen. I think I'm going to go around mine in pen. And one thing is, if you are, I'll do it in a micron marker if I can find one here. I just had one. Here it is. This is just a 0.4. If you mess up on your circle and you get more than one line, or it's a little oblong or something, just go around your circle a few times and make it sketchy. Just do this a couple times and then go around it again and again. And I'm trying to be a little bit more jagged when I do it so that it looks very sketchy. And see, I've got several little lines here now, so you can see on my paper. There's a little dot there too. I have to do something with that. Now what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be using some pen, and we're going to sketch some mountains in a night scene. So I'm just going to do this. Let's see. Okay, and then I'm going to go over it again in pen. Now that I know what I want, and I don't like to make them too perfect. In fact, I went around my line here. And I'm changing it a little bit. Okay, so now I've got that. Now, what I want to do at this point is put some color down, and then later we're going to come back in and shade in these mountains. So we're going to go back to pen later, but right now I'm going to go ahead with the watercolor. And we're going to be using some oranges and pinks and some greens and blues. Blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel, so they're complementary. Green and reds are opposite on the color wheel, so they're complementary. And my sky will be kind of green and blue. I'm going to grab my piece of trusty scrap paper that I have, grab a brush, and I'm just going to check my greens. I want to see how they mix together. This one is a semi-transparent color. This one is chromium oxide green. That's a Rembrandt color. And then on my blue, I want to go with probably an indanthrone blue. You can use ultramarine, you can use indigo. Indigo has a lot of black in it though, indanthrone is more blue. So as you can see here, so I'm just going to punch these colors together and see what happens when they're together. It gets kind of muddy. So I know I don't want to use that green. That's what I was afraid of. Let me see here. Maybe some phthalo green, which is more of a turquoise color. Let me see. I'm going to pull both of these and see what we got here. Now, this is how I start my paintings. I don't always know what I'm going to do. I'm just winging this. So I don't really have a photo that I'm working on. It's just something in my head. I want to use this on the bottom. Oh, I'm liking that. I think that's it. Yes, that might be it. Yeah, I'm liking that. Let's see what jadeite does on the other side. You can see that's part of my practice sketch from last week's. I was just doodling around trying to come up with a plan. So Yeah, jadeite's going to be too dark. That's what I thought. It looks kind of good in the blue though, but I'm going to see with this phthalo. Yeah, I'm liking the phthalo. So we're going to use phthalo green and indanthrone blue. And then I am going to come up with my mountain colors. And I think I'm going to go with some Aussie Red Gold. You can use quinacridone gold. You can use your warm yellow, whatever warm yellow you have. You can use yellow ochre, whatever you have. Don't worry if you don't have the same colors as me. We should all be doing our own thing anyway. And I think I'm going to try a little quinacridone magenta. We're going to see what these mountains would look like in these colors. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw me do some mountains in these colors before. Yeah, I'm liking that. You can use burnt sienna and yellow ochre, whatever you have. But I'm going to use these 4 colors, and that'll be my entire painting. Okay, so now, the first thing is, oh, and I'll use a little bit of, you can use masking fluid right now if you want to sprinkle a little masking fluid down for stars, or you can use gouache at the end, which is what I prefer to do because masking fluid sometimes just comes out wrong, and I don't want to deal with that right now. Now I'm going to get a bigger brush here, just using a number 8. Actually, this is not the brush I want to use. I'll use this one, number 8 Da Vinci. It's a longer brush than the one that I had before. And I'm going to go ahead and wet this whole area of the sky, being careful not to go outside the circle, if at all possible. And if I do, I'll just make that circle bigger with lines later. That's how I can correct some boo-boos if I go out. Oh, and that is a blue, that little dot there. Wet this all in. Okay, I'm going to start with my green, my lighter color, which is better to work with that way. I'm just going to go in here. Allowing that to spread up into the watered area. It's all wet, but I'm just kind of flicking my brush up as I go. And then wipe my brush, and I'm going to grab some indanthrone, and I'm going to start at the top, real deep color. And I'm going to let that come down. I love the feathering effect that some of the colors make. And they all react differently to each other. Some of them repel each other. I should do a video on that. You know what? I think I'm going to leave that white in the middle. I'm kind of liking that. I'll bring some of the blue down here and there. Like that. Maybe down here too. There. And I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry. Now I'm using my dryer a little bit now because the white started to close in and I wanted to save it. By doing that, I did lose a little bit of the feathering effect, but that's all right. I just didn't want it to be, I didn't want to lose my white. Although it is going to be harder to put stars in. Yeah, I'll just put them around the white. That's fine. Now I'm going to go ahead now with a smaller brush here. I'm using a number 4 and I want to go in with my yellow here. Actually, I think I'm going to wet these as well. So let me just wet them all. Going over everything. My phthalo green wants to bleed in, so I got to be careful with that. I thought that was more staining than it was. Maybe it wasn't totally dry. My water looks a little yellow. I just had a little bit of that Aussie red gold on my brush still. Okay. Now I'll take a little bit of my Aussie red gold. And a little bit of the magenta. Ooh, did that come off too much? Nope. Taking it right out of my palette. And I just got red from my fingers on this thing. That really bums me out. I might have to do some splattering at the end to fix that. Mixing some of it together here. I just grabbed some more and I didn't rinse my brush, so it's a little oranger there. I want to lift some of that red up too, because I think I got a lot. I'm losing my color. And my brush was a little bit too wet. You can see a little bit of puddling there. I do not want that. So I'm going to dry my brush. I rinsed it and I'm drying it, and I'm just kind of dabbing up some of the excess. I can go in and add more color once I pick that up. So I will go in with a little bit drier color now. Get the concentration that I want back in. There we go. And I went outside the line because I'm hurrying a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and dry that again. Or let it dry, actually. I don't want to dry it. So we'll let this dry, and then I will come back and show you what we're going to do next. Okay, I'm going to move my paints aside here. I'm going to pull my marker out. I'm going to go back to these paints in a little bit, but right now what I want to do is, I'll show you this picture that I did on Instagram, if I can find it here. Let me just get out of this and go into my Instagram account. And I can show you. Golly, where is it? That's too far back. That frog I did a long time ago. I know I posted it on Instagram. I must have whizzed right by it. There it is. This is what I did with the mountains. Now that mine now is going to be a little bit different. I could add a little bit of the blue in. I might do that, and maybe even add a few trees at the bottom if I can find a green that'll go over this Aussie red gold well. But let me go ahead. I should have looked at that ahead of time. I'm going to grab some of my blue, my Indanthrone. I don't want it really, oops. I don't want it really dark though. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Let me get it in my palette here. Dull it down a little bit. I think that'll work. I just have to, and I'm going to go in with some green. Use whatever green you want to use. I think I'm going to grab some of my my Prussian. No, this one is Perylene green. That will work, and I can put my trees in then. There. And then the blue, I'm going to mix some of my blue with some of my Quin Magenta to get a purplier color. I'm going to add that together and put that in my mountains too. It's still not blue enough. There we go. Alrighty, let that dry. Now I'm done with the color. I want to put my white stars on. So I'll let this dry. We can put on the white stars and do our pen work. Okay, that is dried. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of fold that. See if I can get all of this covered here. It's all right if it isn't completely covered because I think I'm going to put some snow on the mountains like I have in that too. And taking a bigger brush or a, you can take a mop, a dagger. Daggers have a lot of flip to them if you want to use that. But I usually use a brush on the end of an eraser, one of these for my snow. That's what I usually use. And so I'm doing stars, but same concept. And then I can just go like this all over. Getting it all over my iPad. Don't want to overdo it too much, but there we go. That should be good. We'll see if that holds. I used full strength gouache, but I did get this a little bit wet, and it's plastic, so it stays wet. But okay, now we can go ahead and start on the mountains, adding lines. And I just kind of go around the paint in some areas, like it is part of the mountain, like it's rock. And then go down the back side with some lines. Just do whatever you want. Very simple. And then for the trees, I just do a bunch of zigzags or triangles, sort of open triangles. Do some short ones and then tall ones behind it. Zoom in a little bit more so you can see this a little bit better. grab one of my other pens. See if the ink is darker in this than a fountain pen. It might be. I usually use fountain pens more than felt tips. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with a little bit of that gouache. This might not be strong enough because it got wet, but we'll see. Yeah, no, I need to make it full strength. I'm just going to dab my wet brush right into, not soaking wet, but, you know, a wetted brush. I'm just going to dab it right into the tip of my gouache to get full strength gouache here. And just kind of dry brush it down in a couple spots. Putting some in the treetops. Now I didn't do that on my other little sketch that I did, but here I'm going to because the trees are harder to see. I'm just kind of sliding up and down. That'll work. And where I can see that paint is drying too pale, then I'll just go over it again real quick and dab it. Sometimes you have to do that with gouache. I find that M. Graham seems to be the best gouache for me. I like it better than Winsor & Newton as far as opacity goes. And you can buy it in these huge tubes, which is really nice. These are 37 mLs. No, 59 mLs. Lots and lots. Okay, and now I want to cover this completely. Let me just dry this gouache real quick so it's not sticking to my jar. I'm going to take my jar, make sure it's dry on the bottom. It is. And I'm going to stick it over this, and then I'm going to splatter. Get a different color here. I don't have any over here. There we go. That's plenty. Now I got a little too much probably because I used that thing, but there. And I'm going to cut this even. Let me just cut it even. Okay. Let's see here. Put it on my 4-inch mark and cut it fairly straight. No, I wanted a little more than that. Let's see. There. Oops. Shoot. Shoot, shoot, shoot. My blade is kind of shot. So, there. Alrighty. I think that's pretty even. It's not centered very well, but that's okay. So that is my painting for today on our Tiny Tuesday tutorial. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I may trim this off. I think I will because I can't stand that it's lopsided. I just have to measure and see how much I have on each side of this. On this side, I want about 1.5. from the edge. Yeah, I guess that's right. That is right. Okay. There. That's a little bit better. So don't forget to sign your work, guys. You can use a pen, or you can use a glass pen and some watercolor, and you can sign it that way. I will just show you how I do that. I make a puddle of watercolor. Like that. And then you can either try and dip your pen if you have the space to do that, or I use my brush and I just twirl my pen around and I get water or color on all the sides. You can see how it's picked up the color there. So when I do this, I usually dab off the first drop if there's a big drop there, and if there isn't, then I just go ahead, sign my name. There we go. All set. So remember, everybody, be courageous, paint with wild abandon, and most of all, be kind to each other. I will see you next Tuesday for Tiny Tuesday tutorials. Can't stop fiddling. I want to fiddle more. Gotta do more here. I needed something there, and I need something here too. Just adding lines, happy little lines, happy little mountains. Happy little mountains. Happy. Thank you, Bob. Okay, now I'm done. Bye, guys. Take care. God bless you.